So you have grades.
You have a page of this in your handbook
Oh, yeah.
too. So it's like the second or third page. So not that one, the next one.
So
The next one. There you go.
there is grades of wood, which is really kind of refers to the amount of what they call hickeys or knots or mineral streaks, basically imperfections in the wood. So yeah, so clear grade wood is basically no imperfections, no knots, no mineral streaks. It's everything. The color is basically the same all the way through. Rarely do people spec clear grade because it is very expensive because of the amount of material or lumber the mills have to go through to get clear grade. And so it's just, you don't see a lot of specs for clear grade. And I mean, as far as like showing you guys something, like, I mean, this isn't truly clear grade, but you don't really see any knots or anything in here. I mean, it's real clean.
The reason why that's not clear grade is because there's probably, is that a little bit of sap?
Yeah, you see like this little,
So there's color
little
gradation.
mineral streak or sapwood. So that, none of that is allowed in clear grade. So you'll get a very uniform floor and color. There's gonna be very little variation. That's what they're looking for. This board, the next grade down, is what's called select and better grade. And that's what this is. So it'll allow for some streaks and some miscolorations, but you're not gonna have any knots or big like streaks through there. So it's very clean. For us, that's mainly what we use as select and better grade material.
That's probably select material or select and better, but you see it does have a couple little pinhole knots at the bottom. So that would probably be allowed within a select floor, but just not in a large quantity. You know, they're gonna limit the amount of that it has. So if it has a lot of those types of things, it's probably gonna be the next grade down.
Correct, yeah. The more imperfections, the lower the grade. So then you go from a select and better grade. I will say this too, the wider the boards get, the grading rules change because the trees can't yield as much of wider stuff. So as the board gets wider, even within a select grade, it actually will allow for more imperfections due to the width of the board. So like that board right there, even though you see that knot kind of up there at the top, it's a 7-inch wide board. So it could be considered a select board because of how wide it is. Now on a piece of 2 1/4 or 3 inch, that would not be allowed in a select material. But it's, yeah, just the grades change with the amount of imperfections allowed due to the width.
Standards of those different grades. So while those grades may still be the terminology that you would use, they're not necessarily gonna have the same standard. Like with this walnut. So this is a select walnut. So is this. It has a little knot hole in it. You'll have some of those. That's probably gonna be more common in the walnut than it would be in the oak select. And so that's a thing to consider, is that knowing the materials and what to expect. And therefore, if it has bigger knots and you're like, I ordered select, I know exactly what that means. Where's the select? This is number 1 common or something else. So
Okay, so we got the clear select, 1 common, kind of be described probably as a board like this. So you see it's got some knots and stuff in it, you know, here, there. You're gonna see in a lot of 1 common, you're gonna see a lot of little knots like that. Not big, there's not gonna be any voids in the lumber or anything. It's still pinhole knots, some larger knots, not large, but you know, like that, and maybe some more mineral streaks as far as coloration, like that kind of stuff. Is the most commonly used of wood floors. It's not for us, but that's again what you're going to see the most of. You're going to hear a lot of people refer to number 1 common red oak. That's just like there's your commodity of wood floors. That's kind of builder grade, your least expensive wood floor. I shouldn't say least expensive, but least expensive that still looks good. They get into 2 common and 3 common wood floors. They're not very good anymore. Like 2 common is you get a lot of bigger knots, mineral streaks. It's really like a lot of really dark pieces with black streaks through them, just unattractive, and they're usually very short pieces. There's not a lot of people that use that anymore.
Because those are going to be cutoffs from these other more higher grades, so those cutoffs might be shorter than
And
one of the other.
like 3 commons barely even used anymore because it seems like it used to be 3 common is now considered 2 common, but we refer to it as firewood. Basically, it's just not just short, ugly pieces of wood. I mean, if you're doing something where nobody cares, they just want a wood floor, that's fine. But as an overall look, it's not going to make that attractive a floor, especially on a light colored floor, because you're going to see all that stuff. Then you've got character grade floor when you're actively looking for like this kind of stuff. But what the beauty of character grade is it allows for all the imperfections, but you're typically also getting the length of the board. So you'll get long boards with the imperfections and stuff in it. For us, most of the time we're doing it's going to be like ranches, lake houses. It's a more of a rustic look. But that's kind of what I like about it is, it's supposed to be using like a 2 common. You use a character grade and you're still going to get long boards, long length structure in the boards. And I personally just like the way it looks, but that's kind of what a character grade is. You're kind of allowing for whatever imperfections the lumber is giving you, and you just work with what you got. The reclaimed lumber, this is reclaimed that we've turned into a pattern. Typically with reclaimed lumber, you're going to see a lot of splits. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have lots of cracks because it's been weathered over however many it could be, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. And a lot of times you'll get a lot of nail holes in it as well, where the nails have been pulled out. Typically when the nails are pulled out, you'll have little black spots where they've oxidized, and that does not sand out of the wood. It stays in the wood. But it's a great look. It's obviously been very popular over the last 10 years. You can specify what species of wood you get in reclaimed. It's getting harder and harder to say I want white oak reclaimed, as opposed to if you get oak, you just get a mixture of red and white oak. And then a lot of people are just selling reclaimed as just whatever type of wood it was. That's what you're getting. It's a great look. You can do all kinds of stuff with it too, as far as color, and you can sand it smooth. You'll see a lot of contemporary houses that have reclaimed floors in them that'll have a very smooth finish, but it's kind of a rustic look with a contemporary surrounding, like French reclaimed oak, but that's getting harder and harder to source as well. So most of the stuff is going to be domestic reclaimed wood.
Notches in the wood, like what do you do?
So if they're, and some of it depends on the client. Some of them like that stuff, and some of them don't want anything. They want it all gone. So if it's all the way through, then we will cut it out, because you don't want to be looking at the subfloor or if there's glue underneath it or what have you. So if it's a hole that's all the way through, we cut that out. If it's like that, then a lot of times it can be filled with a wood filler or an epoxy filler, or some people will actually just leave it as it is.
Kind of like how this one was filled.
Let's see that little.
This little gray knot.
Now, obviously with reclaim, you're going to have a lot more than that. So most people are okay with the look because that's what they want. Usually the ones that are going to could be hazardous to, you could catch a heel in it, or you walk barefoot, you catch your toe in it. Those are the ones we'll definitely make sure we either cut out or clean them up or fill them.
Common wood floor species.
Yeah.
The most common that we do, white oak, ripped and quartered.
So you've got on oaks, you've got red oak, white oak. We use European oak.
Here's the red oak as compared to the white oak.
Okay, so white oak is going to be a little harder than red oak. And red oak, obviously you have a pink tint to the wood, or pink hue. If you're going to stain the floor dark, it's not that it really doesn't matter. But if you're gonna go with a very current, like natural look, or white, or gray, or what have you, it's very hard to work with gray or red oak without it turning pink on you. And so you can bleach it, but it still will have some pink to red coming through. So that's why white oak, especially recently, has been in such high demand, because a lot of people are doing the lighter color floors right now, and nobody wants the pink. So, but like if you stain it dark, like this floor is red oak, this floor is red oak, I think, and this one. And so you see we've stained them all dark. They look great. Nobody's really going to know if that's red oak or white oak. But if you were to stain a red oak floor this color, it would be very pink. You can kind of see the red or the pink. This has just got a clear sealer on it, but you can see that how it's got some red in it. All these patterns, if you see they've got different colors in them, you really want to do that with different species of wood, as opposed to trying to stain it differently, because it's very, very hard to try and sand and then try and like tape off each one of these pieces and stain it, and then the next day tape off the other pieces and stain it. It's very difficult, very labor intensive, and then you a lot of times will get stain that'll bleed over, and then you're trying to resand spots. So we don't do that. It's just, if you want to have different colors, it's going to be different types of wood. In this particular sample, you've got walnut, red oak, and maple.
So the loose pieces of those, we have the red oak, here's walnut. So you see those are already immediately different colors, and then here's the maple. So just by different species, now we have multicolored floors.
Mostly walnut and oak mixed together. Here, there, that's walnut and oak, that's walnut and oak. So that's that one there, actually both of those. That's going to be typically what you see when you've got woods mixed together. Now you can mix anything together. Walnut has got, well, you've got the pieces right here. So you see the color of the wood already. So you're starting with a chocolate brown colored wood. So it's going to lend itself to something like this. You wouldn't buy walnut and try and make it lighter. And this has only got like a golden color on it, so you can go much darker with it, but you're not going to be able to go much lighter, because that's just the color of the wood. Walnut, though, is soft. It's a hard wood, but it is a soft wood floor. So
in comparison to oak or hickory.
Everybody really loves the look of it, the grain structure, but it is kind of back to Laura's point of the lifestyle. If you have a bunch of kids and dogs, and if you did a smooth finished walnut floor like this table, for instance, it's going to get ruined very quickly. The dogs are going to scratch it, the kids are going to drop stuff on it, it's going to dent. It's a beautiful floor, but you've got to allow for what's going to happen to it. Or you can, hand scrape it like this, and that always helps with imperfections and stuff. But smooth finished walnut. This is cherry and walnut mixed together. Cherry is even softer than walnut. So this floor is not a very practical floor at all as far as durability. So cherry again is like walnut. You're starting with a wood that is really red. So nobody really likes red floors right now. So that's not really probably a great option to start with.
Dense wood, meaning that it doesn't like to accept stain very well.
It does not. So maple is very blonde in color. This is what most of your basketball courts are going to be made out of. So it's very hard, but you're really going to be putting a clear type of finish on it, either oil based or water based. This is a water based. Oil is going to turn a little more yellow, but any kind of stain, it's going to appear real splotchy. It just does not take stain very well. So if you are doing a maple floor, this is really the look that you need to be considering. Because even cherry doesn't stain great. Like this is actually a walnut and cherry again, and you can see kind of that splotchiness in the stain, and it just doesn't, like, see right here, I mean, it doesn't stain very well. So when you're doing cherry, and this is another cherry, you wanna go with lighter colors or clear finishes. It's just not it doesn't take dark stain very well. And then we've got hickory. You'll hear it referred to as hickory and pecan. They are separate things. You can order pecan only or hickory only, but the big difference is basically that all pecan trees are hickory trees, but not all hickory trees are pecan trees, if that makes any sense. So, but it's a very, very hard wood, very dense. So it's very practical as far as like doing a smooth finish floor and having a lifestyle where you've got kids and dogs and very active. It's gonna hold up great. The only thing some people don't like about it is the graining in it. So it's heavy on graining. That's really it. I mean, other than that, it's a great floor. It's affordable. You can do all kinds of stuff with the color. The only thing with hickory is it's got a lot of color variation within the board. So you may have one piece of wood that has a blonde side and then almost like a red side. 80%, if not 90% oak, and then the 10% would be probably walnut and hickory. Do very little maple, very little cherry. And then of course you get your, things mixed in there that we don't do all the time, like a reclaimed pine or, an exotic wood. Heart pine, reclaimed heart pine. So they have new heart pine, but most everything that people try to do or you see is antique heart pine, and which is old growth pine. They don't have that anymore. So you'll get new heart pine, or reclaimed, which reclaimed again is going to have the knot holes and stuff, or nail holes, that kind of stuff. But you can see the grain is real tight together. Any kind of building pine like yellow pine, white pine, you get that big giant crazy grain. It looks like plywood or